Hello, this is Adrienne Green, Realtor with Sampson Properties, and I had a closing today. It was wonderful. It's always a great day when you have a closing, and especially with a first-time home buyer, that's always fun to get them into their first house. So that's what I had today, and I'm glad it all worked well, but the last two closings that I've had with my buyers, we have had some challenges along the way with getting that mortgage loan approval. It's not uncommon. There's a lot of reasons. The mortgage loan requirements are very high, and that's to prevent another issue like we had in 2008 with subprime mortgages and things like that. So there's valid reasons that we have such high mortgage loan requirements, but it can be challenging for people. So I wanted to kind of talk about my last two experiences and use those as an opportunity to show you what it's like to work with me and to also educate you for any future transactions you may have, and kind of just give some words of wisdom. So the ideal for lenders with mortgage loans is that the borrower has been at their last place of employment for a minimum of 2 years. That makes all the approvals a little bit easier. So with both of my last borrowers, they had not been at their last place of employment for 2 years, and that just meant that getting that mortgage loan approval was a little more work. This had nothing to do with the wonderful loan officers that we were working with. These two deals had two different loan officers, both of whom were fabulous women who did a wonderful job and communicated really well, and they fought for these clients. The clients were great advocates, and I was also there working for these clients as much as we could. But these underwriters and the Fannie Mae Freddie Mac requirements are pretty black and white, and we have to meet them. So that's what we worked to do. So in my August closing, the gentleman had not been at his place of employment for 2 years, and so there were some requirements of verifying employment, verifying hours worked, verifying income. And so we just worked together, the loan officer, myself, and the client. He worked with his HR to get the documents that the underwriter needed in order to feel comfortable issuing that loan. And that's what it comes down to. We have these Fannie Mae requirements, we have this underwriter, and their job is to make sure that this loan, as much as we can ensure, will be repaid. You can't begrudge them that. And so we worked with and did what we had to do to get these documents. So I always recommend to my clients when we have any kind of document request from the loan officer, for them to meet that request as soon as possible, because on that loan side, behind the scenes, we have a lot of people who have to look at these documents, who have to pass it. This person A has to look at it first, pass it to person B, pass it to person C, and we all have to approve it. So I always just work with my clients, make sure they know what's needed, see if, what documents they can easily access and if those will work, and to try and maybe make the process as smooth and as easy as possible for them. So with my other closing today, we had a similar situation. The client just hadn't been at their last place of employment for 2 years, and so there were some extra letter of explanation and some proof of some time spent in school that was needed to show what that entire 2 years had been spent doing. So one thing there, the underwriter wanted transcripts. Well, my client transcripts were not easily accessible, so I talked to her about, hey, what do you have on hand that would verify your time spent on this education? And she had her diploma. So since the diploma was dated and had details on it, we talked to the lender and confirmed that the diploma would work as that proof of time spent in school. So help my client to meet these needs as easily as possible. And my philosophy as we deal with this is, there's only so much that's in our control, and what's not in our control, such as Fannie Mae Freddie Mac requirements, since we can't control it, there's no point in being upset or stressing or lamenting about the challenges. Instead, we have to have a positive attitude and say, okay, these are the requirements. How can we most easily meet them? How can we make this happen? Facing a challenge with a loan or facing a challenge with a deal is not the end of it. That just means that we're just going to have to problem solve and work a little bit harder to get us to the closing table. But we are still going to do everything we can to get to the closing table. So that was kind of my experience with these last two transactions. Again, we just had a few little hiccups because they hadn't been at their place of employment for 2 years. But the important thing in dealing with these situations is to to remain positive, to problem solve, and to not stress out. And we make it come together as much as we can. And both of these clients now are in their lovely new homes. And so overall, at the end of the day, it was a win. If you have any challenges with loans, or you think that there might be some issues with getting mortgage loan approval based on your work history, I'd be happy to talk to you about that. I have several wonderful lenders, all who have different specialties and expertise that I can refer you to. And there's plenty of programs out there and opportunities and ways to get people wonderful loans. Interest rates are great right now, so that you can become a home buyer, pay your own equity, and control your own little piece of paradise. So thank you for your time today. Again, Adrienne Green, Realtor at Sampson Properties, and have a great day.